Chapter 28. The End. It was a happy day for all her feelings as a mother when Mrs. Bennet saw her two most deserving daughters married. It may be guessed that she afterwards visited Mrs. Bingley and talked of Mrs. Darcy with excited pride. I wish I could say that the satisfaction of her dreams for them made her a sensible woman for the rest of her life, though perhaps it was lucky for her husband's amusement that she still often had an attack of nerves and was never anything but silly. Mr. Bennet missed his second daughter very much. His love for her caused him to travel from home more often than anything else could do. He enjoyed going to Pemberley, especially when he was least expected. Mr. Bingley and Jane remained at Netherfield for only a year. The nearness of her mother was not desirable, even to his kindly nature or her loving heart. He then bought her property in Derbyshire, and Jane and Elizabeth, in addition to every other happiness, lived within 30 miles of each other. Kitty, to her very great advantage, spent most of her time with her two older sisters. In society that was so much better than what she had generally known, her improvement was great. She was not of so uncontrollable a nature as Lydia, and when she was removed from the influence of her example, became less complaining and less silly. Although Lydia frequently invited her to come and stay with her, with promises of dances and young men, her father would never allow her to go. Mary was the only daughter who remained at home, and she was necessarily interrupted in her studies and her efforts at making music by the fact that Mrs. Bennet was quite unable to sit alone. Mary was forced to mix more with the world, and as her more beautiful sisters were no longer there to be compared with her, she was not unwilling to do so. As for Lydia and Wickham, their characters remained unchanged. He bore with calmness the knowledge that Elizabeth must now have learned every detail about his past, and both he and Lydia were not without hope that Darcy could still be persuaded to make his fortune. Elizabeth did frequently send some relief from her own private money, and because of his love for Elizabeth, Darcy helped Wickham to get a better position in the army. Although her husband could never be received at Pemberley, Lydia was sometimes a visitor there, and they both of them frequently stayed so long with the Bingleys that even Bingley's good temper failed him. Miss Bingley was much annoyed by Darcy's marriage, but as she wanted to continue to visit Pemberley, she was forced to be polite to Elizabeth. Pemberley was now Georgiana's home, and the sisterly love that grew between her and Elizabeth was exactly what Darcy had hoped to see. Georgiana had the highest opinion in the world of Elizabeth, though at first she often listened with astonishment to a lively, joking way of talking to the brother for whom she, as a much younger sister, felt so much respect. Lady Catherine was extremely angry at the marriage of her nephew, and expressed her feelings in a letter so insulting to Elizabeth that, for a time, all friendly connections were ended. The Collinses removed to Lucas Lodge until the storm had blown over, which it did at last, when Elizabeth persuaded her husband to offer to end the quarrel. With the Gardiners, they had always the warmest relationship. Darcy, as well as Elizabeth, really loved them, and they both felt most grateful towards the persons who, by bringing her to Derbyshire, had been the means of uniting them.